What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and with a big ol' freaking smile, we're going to be talking about a game called Corepunk. This is an isometric but open world MMORPG. Corepunk is obviously inspired by a few action RPGs to an extent. Maybe you could even say League of Legends in some ways, but mainly this sort of I cannot say booming, but there are numerous games coming out that are this sort of isometric action RPG inspired MMO gameplay, and many of them are really much more action RPG than they are MMO. Many of them aren't even MMOs, they just have online components or more and more seamless online activities to do. But Corepunk is going to be right there with games like Albion Online, or we have Lost Ark, things like that. Corepunk is isometric, true, and it has a fog of war, but instantaneously through the trailer, we can clearly see that it is truly open world. In fact, they make a big point of showing us that we can go anywhere. I mean, normally in these kind of games, or I say these kind of games, but games that look like this at first glance, they just show characters running through the middle of towns, and then they just show dungeons. But in this game, we literally see people going off the beaten path. Like, there's a little bit of verticality, there's cliffs. People are literally jumping off cliffs in this game. Ridiculous. Of course, it's going to have some pros and some cons, and we're going to be talking about that, but that's pretty much the gimmick, guys, is that this is a freaking big open world sandbox, to an extent, sandboxy MMO RPG set in kind of a wild, starry sort of universe. There it is, Corepunk. But now, how am I going to describe this game? How am I going to assume this game is going to play? And why am I gushing over this trailer? Basically, this trailer is sort of like kind of created with this sort of meta narrative. It kind of is tongue-in-cheekly and subtly comparing itself to many other games. Like I said earlier, so many games just show, like, you know, they'll show like terrain off, like there'll be like minutes of just panning over trees and stuff like that. Nobody cares about that. There's just, you know, very calm, very vanilla footage of people walking through towns. But again, in here, in Corepunk, you actually do see people jumping off of cliffs, falling down. Also, in many of those games, you see a sort of power fantasy being very prevalent. You see just, you know, characters like in BDO killing swaths of enemies. And really, all you just see is kind of particle effects. You have no feel of what the game's really going to be like. But in Corepunk, you see people die a number of times. In fact, they're almost proud of that. So is Corepunk going to be more difficult than other games? I don't know, but they sure are trying to make it seem that way. And, you know, lots of little things. If you guys watch the trailer, which I will actually play at the end of my little blah, 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 if you guys want to watch that. Sorry for the IGN logo thing. I guess they have an exclusive trailer rights right now, but I wanted to jump on this. But Corepunk, to me, the trailer really screams to me that these guys know the issues that we've been going through. We've had so many titles that have really fallen flat, from Pagan Online, Moo, Legend Online, or whatever, the new Moo. We've had Albion Online, which is the biggest one, still sitting at mixed reviews on Steam and still not really cross-platform. You know, we've been through a couple of games, and we're waiting on Lost Ark, definitely. And there's a number of these games coming out, and they all really are really worthy of mixed reviews. You know, Wild Terra is getting a sequel because the first one kind of sucked. So Corepunk is kind of coming out and basically saying, hey, we're going to do it right, you know? So this is going to be the Western's attempt, and it's going to be kind of the one that's competing against Lost Ark. But Lost Ark is still going to be a very different game. Lost Ark is definitely still more of that power fantasy action RPG, where Corepunk, you can immediately see from the gameplay, they didn't just throw up a bunch of ridiculous abilities. They didn't just throw up a bunch of ridiculous scenarios. It was very real situations. Very real, like you walking up to a group of enemies and they slaughter you. In fact, it was the enemies and the terrain that was really the promotion. That was really the highlight of those clips there. It wasn't just, you know, you as a character throwing 10 million grenades and killing swaths of enemies. It was somebody walking up and getting wrecked. And that was crazy. You can definitely tell the gameplay is going to be slower, more deliberate, and definitely more cooperative focused. It's still a PvP game, actually, but unlike Albion Online, which really promoted that PvP, this game really is showing a lot of PvE. It's showing the questing, and it's showing the world, the different cities, the biomes seem so radically different. There just seems to be much more of an enriching and versatility to the myriad of locations versus Albion Online is a lot of the same, to be honest. And yeah, there's gonna be more and more direct comparisons to Albion Online, and I'm sure in the future, come soon, Lost Ark as well, because these games are all gonna come out to that. There's also a game called Fractured, which is, actually, you should just go look at my list video of upcoming action RPG MMOs, and I'll probably refresh that list and do more now that Corepunk is coming out, because I'm really freaking excited. I could just ooze and talk about it forever. But anyways, so we didn't see too much about the characters. We do know that we are going to choose characters, and they're going to be kind of our class archetypes, but then they have different kind of tree paths that they can flow down. So that's really reminiscent of general ARPGs, where you do have, I guess, some people call them gender lock classes. I just call them characters or kits. You have a kit, and then you can kind of customize it from there moving forward. But you can see you only have a handful of abilities that we can utilize. The UI and the general gameplay does seem kind of the general classic ARPG style, where it's a little bit slower. And I think some people aren't going to like that, especially in an open world game. But overall, I really enjoyed that. I loved crawling through Albion Online a lot, even though its PvE was really light. Corepunk seems like it's going to go way more ham with the puzzles. It seems like the terrain and the environment is much more in-depth, at least by a factor of 2. And it seems that overall, the PvE encounters are just more complex than what we get in Albion. And I played that game solo just to silver. And in that game, when you just jungle, I guess, or when you're going around just killing the PvE mobs, that's called silvering because they drop silver. Anyways, so I definitely enjoyed that, and I'm just now getting into, or really diving into the ARPG genre, where I obviously I've played some before, but I'm more of a Monster Hunter and Dark Souls kind of boy. But these isometric style grinders, I'm just now getting into, with Path of Exile being the big one. So Corepunk, I think, is a far enough departure from modern ARPG, which are just, light festivals. They're just fireworks. They are absolutely ridiculous and insane. And I think at the same time, it's very different from other sandbox MMOs like Black Desert, etc., with its isometric viewpoint. And of course, we've had a number of games, but you could say they sucked. And really the closest to not sucking is Albion Online and maybe Lost Ark, which I haven't played, and that's not in the West yet. And this game still looks very different from those two titles, so it's really going to be competing with Albion Online. And we'll see what Corepunk brings to the table. It looks like it has a totally different customization system than Albion, where in this game, armors and everything are purely cosmetic, where in Albion, that is literally the abilities, that's literally the functions and customization. In this game, you have characters. In Albion, you're totally classless. So this game really is carving out its own unique spot in its ecosystem while still being the most polished of anything that you can really compare it to. And it's probably not going to be a game for everyone. Being isometric, being a sandbox PvE MMO, being the weird aesthetic that it has, and just, moving on to the slowness of the game. It's really going in a lot of weird directions for a lot of weird people, but it's like the best version of all those different things being put together. That's just my opinion. And overall, once again, I do want to applaud the trailer for giving such insight. Normally when I do these kind of videos, these pre-impressions, it's me kind of assuming what the gameplay is going to be like to such a great extent. Like, once again, if a character, it never bumps into, the terrain. If you never see someone climbing mountains or doing something like that, you can assume there's going to be tons of invisible walls. But Corepunk immediately seems to be alleviating that threat and that worry. In fact, the whole trailer just seems to be about alleviating worries of really issues that have plagued similar style games. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have a lot of other problems with the game. I would love to know in the comments below, but what are you excited about? And from what I can tell, reading about the instantaneous reaction of this game is that, well, at first, we all thought it was going to be generic, but then as we watch the trailer, it's literally all about how it's not generic. The game, normally action RPGs are easy. This game shows people dying multiple times. It's a pretty serious game, and etc. Just every point of this just seems to be like, yeah, we know what it looks like. There's a lot of mediocre shit out there, and there's even some really cool games that we're competing against. But we're going to be our own thing, and in other ways, we're just going to be better. That's the dream. That's the hope. That's Corepunk. So, what do you guys think about this weird isometric PvP WildStar kind of game? I don't know. I think it's going to be great. I will absolutely play it. I will probably stream it really hard. And I even streamed multiple days for a lot of these mixed review games, from Albion, Pagan Online, things like that. Torchlight Frontiers is another game that I'm going to look forward to, but that's still MMO light. Again, to finally just, clarify, Corepunk is a actual MMO. It is going to have actual open world content. It is actually going to have MMO mechanics. It's not just a few or handful of people in any one zone. It is going to be more like Albion Online. If you know the difference between games like Path of Exile and Albion Online, you know the difference between just online action RPG and MMO. And Corepunk is looking like an MMO action RPG to kind of join the ranks that are just now really forming of this kind of emergent genre. There's technically been a lot of these games, but there's technically been a lot of garbage too. So I like to showcase games, I like to show them off, and I think this is going to be a game that I am going to have so much fun playing and sharing with you, friends and family. I'll probably stream it over at twitch.tv/Skylent, and hopefully you guys join me over there. But yeah, look forward to more coverage on Corepunk as I gush and goose about this game more as we get more info and as I get into the alpha or beta test, which will surely happen as soon as possible. That's all I can ask, and that you have fun with the video and you keep the hype alive. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you again next time.
Rating pending. Let's be honest, it'll be mature. Greetings, adventurer, and welcome to Corepunk, an MMORPG where you'll experience fog of war in a vast, seamless open world. Miles and miles of wilderness to get lost in. Discover a small camp in the middle of nowhere. Or a busy metropolis booming with life and activity. You are free to go wherever you want. Use public transport to reach remote locations fast and safe. Begin your journey by creating a hero. Each has its own unique role, abilities, and a set of fighting styles. Complete quests for NPCs who are too busy to do it themselves.
You're gonna need a better gear for that.
Kill monsters to earn gold. Shred them with your best move. Be careful, though. They get pretty crafty when fighting as a unit. Grow crops. Chop wood. Mine ore. Trade goods for missing resources to craft the weapon you deserve. Suit up! It won't make you stronger, but you'll look absolutely fabulous. Choose a set of talents. Boost yourself with artifacts to become the ultimate war machine. Use Fog of War wisely to hunt down and ambush your enemies. Attack those who dared to take your farming spot. Then chill in a city, show off your loot, and find reckless companions to take on a challenge that no one else has the guts for.
We will come again. We'll come again until we're done. 'Cause only those will win. Only those will stand their ground. No one leaves until we're done. When we stand as one, we won't leave till we're done. When we stand as one, we won't leave till we're done. When we stand as one.
Sign up for beta at corepunk.com.